If you had to choose between being respected or being liked as a leader, which would you pick? Most people get this completely wrong, and it destroys their ability to lead effectively. So let me show you what actually works. Machiavelli famously wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Now, before you think this is about being a tyrant, let me show you what he actually meant and what modern psychology reveals about respect, likability, and effective leadership, because this might completely change how you approach leading people. First, let's clear up the massive misconception. When Machiavelli said feared, he didn't mean hated or terrorized. He meant respected, specifically the kind of respect that comes from knowing someone will actually enforce standards and follow through on consequences. Think about it this way. Have you ever had a boss or a teacher who was super nice, really friendly, wanted everyone to like them, but couldn't maintain standards or hold anyone accountable? How much did you actually respect them? How effective were they really? Probably not very. Now think about someone who had high standards, enforced consequences consistently, wasn't necessarily your friend, but you deeply respected them. Who got better results? Who did you actually want to impress? The tough one, right? That's Machiavelli's point. His insight was that people follow leaders they respect way more reliably than leaders they simply like. And here's the uncomfortable truth that most people don't want to hear. Sometimes being respected means making decisions that make you temporarily unpopular. Sometimes you have to fire someone everyone likes but who isn't performing. Sometimes you have to enforce a policy people hate, but that's necessary for the organization. Sometimes you have to give tough feedback that hurts feelings. And if you're so focused on being liked that you can't do these things, you're not actually leading. You're just managing your own popularity. In modern leadership psychology, we'd say Machiavelli was distinguishing between likability and respect-based authority. And research consistently shows that respect-based leadership produces way better long-term outcomes than popularity-seeking leadership. So let's break down why. When leaders prioritize being liked, several psychological problems emerge immediately. First, inconsistent standards. They avoid difficult conversations. They let problems slide to maintain likability. And this creates massive resentment among high performers who see other people getting away with poor performance. Your best employees start thinking, "Why am I working this hard when that person does half the work and gets treated the same?" And then they leave or they stop trying. Second problem, boundary confusion. When you try to be everyone's friend, it makes it exponentially harder to make tough decisions later. Employees feel betrayed when the friend suddenly has to act like a boss. They think, "I thought we were cool, and now you're giving me critical feedback." The friendship and the authority get tangled up and both suffer. Third, decision paralysis. Popular leaders struggle to make unpopular but necessary decisions. They seek consensus when they should be providing direction. They let committees debate forever because they can't handle someone being upset with them. And while they're trying to make everyone happy, the organization stagnates. Fourth, they become incredibly vulnerable to manipulation. Remember our earlier videos about fox manipulators? People pleasers are their favorite targets. Employees quickly learn they can get their way by leveraging the leader's desperate need to be liked. "If you make me do this, I'll be really upset with you" becomes a way to avoid accountability. And research from organizational psychology backs all of this up. Studies show that overly nice leaders often have lower performing teams and higher burnout rates because problems fester unaddressed. Issues that should have been handled quickly become massive conflicts because no one was willing to address them early. Now let's look at respect-based leaders and how they operate differently. Clear standards. They set expectations clearly and enforce them consistently. Everyone knows exactly where they stand. There's no confusion, no guessing, no wondering if the rules apply today. Fair but firm. They're not cruel. They're not harsh for no reason. but they don't avoid difficult decisions either. And this predictability actually creates psychological safety because people know what to expect. Uncertainty is what creates anxiety. Consistency reduces it. Long-term focus. They make decisions based on what's right for the organization long-term, not what's popular in the moment. And this is crucial because short-term popularity often comes at the expense of long-term success. Earned authority. People follow them because they trust their judgment and consistency, not because they're afraid or trying to maintain a friendship. They follow because they believe this person knows what they're doing and will make good decisions even when those decisions are hard. And here's what's interesting. Studies show that respected leaders actually have more engaged teams, better performance outcomes, and higher long-term satisfaction scores even if they're not the most liked person day-to-day. Over time, people appreciate leaders who push them, held them to standards, and helped them become better even if it was uncomfortable in the moment. So, how do you actually build this kind of leadership? Let's get practical. Number 1. Clarify your standards. Be crystal clear about what excellence looks like in your context. Vague expectations create confusion and make accountability impossible. You can't hold people to standards they don't understand. And you can't expect respect for enforcing standards that were never clear in the first place. Number 2. Communicate directly. Respect comes from honest, direct communication. If someone's performance is slipping, address it directly and privately. Don't hint, don't be passive-aggressive, don't hope they figure it out. Tell them clearly if a decision is unpopular. Explain the reasoning without apologizing for doing your job. Number 3. Enforce consequences consistently. This is where most nice leaders completely fail. If you set a standard but don't enforce it, you've actually taught people that your standards don't matter. Words mean nothing if behavior doesn't back them up. Consistency builds respect. Selective enforcement destroys it because then people think you just don't like certain people or you play favorites. Number 4. Make tough calls when necessary. Leadership sometimes requires making decisions that won't make you popular. Letting someone go, denying a popular but flawed idea, enforcing an unpopular policy. Your willingness to do these things when necessary is what builds respect over time. People watch to see if you'll actually do the hard thing or if you'll cave to pressure. Number 5. Demonstrate competence. People respect leaders who actually know what they're doing. Continuously improve your skills. Admit what you don't know. Seek expertise where you need it. Competence earns respect. Pretending to know everything when you don't earns contempt. Number 6. Show fairness, not favoritism. Apply rules consistently across all people. Nothing destroys respect faster than perceived favoritism. This means you can't give breaks to people you personally like while holding others to higher standards. Everyone sees that, everyone knows, and it obliterates your credibility. Number 7. Care about outcomes, not popularity. Make decisions based on what produces the best results, not what makes people like you. And here's the ironic part. This often leads to being both respected and liked over time once people see that your decisions were actually right. Now here's the important nuance Machiavelli included that most people miss. If you cannot be both, the ideal is actually to be both respected and liked. But if you have to choose, if you're in a situation where you can't have both, respect enables leadership while likability alone does not. You can be liked and completely ineffective. You cannot be respected and ineffective because respect is based on competence and follow through. The leaders people remember most fondly years later, usually the ones who were tough but fair, who held high standards, who weren't their best friend but pushed them to be better. That's respect-based leadership. That's what actually matters. So, here's the question you need to ask yourself, and be really honest. Am I avoiding a difficult decision or conversation because it's actually wrong? Or am I avoiding it because I'm afraid people won't like me? If it's the latter, you're choosing likability over respect, and you're undermining your own leadership. Every single time you do that, you lose a little more respect. Every time you enforce standards despite it being unpopular, you gain respect. Choose wisely. If you're in a leadership role or you aspire to be, hit that subscribe button for more content on influence, psychology, and effective leadership. Drop a comment. Have you experienced the difference between a respected leader and a popular leader? Which one actually had more impact on your life? Let's discuss.